Alrighty, welcome back for the third and final round of Monday Night Modern here at Paradise Games. We got a classic here at Paradise Games. We got Nathan versus John, though I think that we've got a slightly different take on the normal matchup here. Instead of the classic Blue Moon versus Fairies here, I think that Nathan is switching it up on us. He's playing a little bit of Grixis Delver here. So we've got some good ones in the hand. At a quick look here, I think he's got Delver of Secrets pulled to the front there. I think I saw a Blood Chief Ascension in his hand as well, which is that's one that we might not be familiar with. Maybe we'll have to get the Blood Chief Ascension up on camera here, or up on screen for you guys. This one is a enchantment for a single black mana. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you may put a quest counter on Blood Chief Ascension. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if Blood Chief Ascension has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life. If you do, you gain 2 life. So essentially, it's a very, very powerful permanent. Takes a long time to turn on, but then anytime they cast a spell, trade a creature, sacrifice a fetch land, anything like that, they get drained for 2. So it certainly will win the game if it ends up, getting to that point. However, I'm a little bit worried about cards such as Blood Chief Ascension in the face of like Brazen Borrower in John's deck. So I think that as sweet as Blood Chief Ascension may be, this might not be the matchup for it, but I suppose we'll have to see how everything plays out. Looks like John gonna go to 6 here. We've got a Dark Slick Shores from Nathan, and bang, right on turn 1, Blood Chief Ascension here from Nathan. Yeah. John's gonna give this one the read, just like we did. It's not threatening yet. It's certainly rather unassuming currently. Interesting enough that Nathan did, I believe, elect to cast Blood Chief Ascension instead of Delver of Secrets on turn 1, which seems a little bit awkward to me. You're pretty much guaranteed, you're much more likely to get your first counter if you cast your Blood Chief Ascension, on the second turn with a Delver of Secrets already in play and hopefully flipped. Obviously, this is a nice deterrent for John not to, play a shock land or something on his first turn of the game. So we'll have to see how he decides to go about this game. He does have that Steam Vents in his hand. Of course, we'll see it head over to his turn here. Alrighty. So here we're going to see John go ahead and take a draw here. He's thinking about that Steam Vents. It gets real awkward here with that Steam Vents. Certainly don't want to shock this one. Of course, Blood Chief Ascension does check at the beginning of each end step here. And yep, just a nice tapped Steam Vents. He'll ship the turn back on over to Nathan, who draws Drown in the Loch for his turn. We'll see how he decides to follow things up here on this turn. He'll shock in a Steam Vents of his own. He'll find himself at 18. Of course, Nathan can never put himself too far away from that good Steam Vents life. Remand the draw here for John. And I imagine we'll see him pass the turn back over to Nathan. He's got Hypnotic Sprite in hand. Couple of remands. He's got a Fairy Seer, a Lightning Bolt. Looks like he's going to sacrifice this Flooded Strand. It'll just be an island, of course. Still making sure we don't lose more than 2 life here. And I expect that we're going to see that Fairy Seer come down here right now for John, given that we just main phased our fetch land here. And we are looking a little bit land shy in this hand currently, so Means we'll be tapping out of a remand, but so be it. So here's a Fairy Seer on the stack. Nathan's going to have to give this one a think. Looks like that one will resolve. And then here's a Thought Scour. I think that this is probably targeting John, given that he just topped with a Fairy Seer. And yeah, sure enough, John going to have to mill land and a spell. And then end step, here's a Thought Scour that I assume will... Oh, it will also be targeting John. So Drown in the Loch. Probably the card that Nathan is attempting to fuel here with 5 cards in graveyard now for John. I think that means Drown in the Loch's basically going to be fully on here for the rest of the game. We'll see if Nathan takes this opportunity to attempt to stick his Delver of Secrets. Looks like basic Mountain the land for turn here. It's a little awkward with the mana. Of course, we cannot play Delver of Secrets and hold up, our Drown in the Loch here with a basic Mountain. So, basic Mountain looking pretty bad right now, unfortunately, for Nathan. All right, looks like John did manage to find another land here. Oh, excuse me. My allergies are starting to come in for the year. Ugh. I'm not excited about it. It's rough every time. Here's an attack 4-1 from John. Bloodchief Ascension still has 0 counters on it, unfortunately, for Nathan. Not doing anything yet. Oh man, Thought Scour seems brutal with Bloodchief Ascension turned on. And yeah, no spell here from Nathan on end step. Just a whole lot of nothing going on. So while Nathan might be playing a slightly different deck here, it appears as though he's not afraid to keep this Drago style up. And yeah, he sure enough just passes the turn back. No land here for Nathan. That's unfortunate. Opt was the draw here for John. He, interestingly enough, didn't fire it off here main phase trying to find a land. Looks like Kolaghan's Command is going to be 2 damage to you. You discard a card, I presume. That one's just going to get countered. No time to mess around with a remand here. Get that thing out of here. Ionize the draw there from Nathan. I think it's time to put this Delver of Secrets into play. Looks like Nathan agrees. So, and then we're just going to cast Ace Serum Visions here. So we'll get to set up our Delver to flip, theoretically, here on our upkeep. So we're going to go, looks like top and top, and a Creeping Tar Pit, the land for turn here. Nathan making sure that he put those back in the right order. Of course, scry top means the Delver of Secrets is pretty much guaranteed to flip here on this next turn of the game. John, however, I think has a Lightning Bolt lined up here for that Delver of Secrets, so he's probably not too worried about it. Alrighty, and sure enough, here is the Lightning Bolt on Delver of Secrets. That'll put that one into the bin. Here's an attack 4-1. Nathan down to 15 now. Not a crazy high life total here for Nathan. He's solidly getting worked on, and here's another copy of Delver of Secrets for Nathan. We'll see if this is something John wants to try and fight over at all. Looks like answer is no. And we're going to try and resolve an Opt now. Looks like Nathan's going to let that one go. Interesting enough, he does have this Ionizing. He does, really want to get Bloodchief Ascension counters, but I suppose, awkwardly enough, you can actually just cast spells in end step to actually play around the Blood Chief Ascension because it won't see the 2 life loss if you cast it after the beginning of the end step. So if you just cast it during your end step, you actually won't end up getting the counters, interestingly enough. So Nathan realizes that Ionize wouldn't actually do the work he needs it to. So, and, we have 0 counters on Blood Chief Ascension still, and we're a long ways off the, fabled 3 I talked about earlier. And let's be reminded that if John ever finds a Brazen Borrower, he can obviously just always reset it. So that is, of course, assuming the Brazen Borrower would resolve. Attack for 1 here. All right, we really want to see a flipped Delver of Secrets here for Nathan. If that manages to happen, he's going to find himself pretty solidly ahead in this game, I think. Here comes a Hypnotic Sprite. Nathan going to attempt to Ionize it, and I don't think this one's going to get through here. I think a nice remand is going to send that one back into Nathan's hand. John will get to draw a card. And he ends up with a 2-1 flyer, which looks very, very good here for John. Of course, still got some Drown in the Locks over there for Nathan, so he will be able to clear the way if the Delver of Secrets does flip this turn, which it does not. Snapcaster Mage, the draw. John also notably playing around removal spell here by fetching on his own turn means that he actually, it would be a little awkward if he needed to fetch on Nathan's turn and then he'd also taken 1 from a Delver of Secrets or whatnot. So it gets a little awkward at some point. So actually, I'm a pretty big fan of main phase fetching here from John. Just get some slightly worse lands, but you end up playing around those Blood Chief Ascension counters. There's that Brazen Borrower I've been talking about all match now. So that one, pretty important. Alrighty, get some flying beats in here for 3. 3, obviously, much better clock here. Alright, this is I believe an end step Drown in the Lock, targeting Hypnotic Sprite here. And yeah, John not willing to fight over that. I'm just gonna go ahead and let the poor fairy hit the bin. Now Nathan thinking here on end step as well. Oh, he's thinking about the Ambush Viper. Oh yeah. Ambush Viper it up. The Nathan special. So now, regardless of whether or not Delver of Secrets flips, Nathan's going to have an attack here that can end up putting counters on Blood Chief Ascension. And yeah, Nathan gets to untap here. That's kind of surprising. I would have expected some form of action here from John while Nathan was tapped out. Land here is the draw. Still no Delver of Secrets flip. That's pretty bad news for him. Nathan just going to go ahead and make the attack. Seems so much more threatening with that Blood Chief Ascension in play. Just a measly attack for 3 all of a sudden. Interesting. Vendilion Click here from John. I assume that this is going to invoke a rebuttal here from Nathan. Indeed it does. Drown in the Lock to counter the fairy while it's on the stack. Not a huge fan of casting this one as opposed to the Ionize that he knows is in your hand, and I get that we get a Blood Chief Ascension counter out of it, theoretically, but still. Nathan's hand is Counter Squall and Ionize. Wow, Nathan is really going in on this Blood Chief Ascension plan. I'm curious how many copies of the card Blood Chief Ascension are actually in this deck here from Nathan, because boy does it feel like he's playing some this feels like it was a deck that was built around Blood Chief Ascension. Oh yeah, it looks like it's 4. Okay, we're getting confirmation it's 4. All right, here's Counter Squall, your Force of Negation. here. I think that John's just going to have to say okay to all of this, unfortunately. It's a little awkward to cast the Force of Negation into the known counterspell here. And once again, Nathan, still leaving the only counterspell he knows about in hand here, which is a little awkward. Alrighty, so this is going to end up in Countersquell resolving. John takes 2 from Countersquell. Combat damage resolving. John takes 3 from combat damage. And then the turn getting passed over and 1 counter getting placed onto the Blood Chief Ascension. So we'll see if Nathan can end up actually putting those 3 counters on the powerful enchantment before it ends up, well, before the game ends up being over, mostly is what we're looking for here. 2 more attacks would put John to 6 at current. Obviously lower if Delver of Secrets flips, so. Blood Moon, Royal Scions, Brazen Borrower, the hand here from John. I'm a pretty big fan of casting the Royal Scions here. Blood Moon, interesting choice. That's going to cut Nathan off of his black mana sources. Of course, Basic Mountain still looking real bad. He's got a single blue land now. Alrighty, Kolaghan's Command will transform the Delver of Secrets here. So now we've got a nice 3-2. Ooh, unfortunately, it's a little hard to see on camera here, but that is just a transformed Delver of Secrets in a slate in a smoke inner sleeve. So alrighty, so now we've got 2 counters on this Blood Chief Ascension here. So John down to 9. Passes the turn. Alright, so now I think we're going to see Nathan just start with an attack here. Brazen Borrower bouncing Delver of Secrets is the attempt. I assume that we'll see Nathan try and fire off the Ionize here. It's going to get remanded. So everything will just happen here. And then I think that we're just going to see Nathan end up having to ship the turn right on back over to John. Ooh, another copy of Brazen Borrower. That's definitely a good one. And he's just going to main phase the Royal Scions here. Interesting choice. With Nathan at 11, I would have been a little bit inclined to maybe get an end-step Brazen Borrower in. And, try and force an Ionize out of Nathan's hand at a point where, the Blood Chief Ascension wouldn't end up triggering, or end up just starting to attack your opponent at 11. Not a huge clock. There's a mountain off the top for Nathan. That being said, the Royal Scion's certainly a potent threat here, so. Alrighty, here comes Opt from John. He'll take a look at the top card. Alrighty, couple of Fairy Seers here off the top for John. I expect that we're just going to see both of them come down on this turn here. Looks like we're starting with a loot, however. One of those poor Fairy Seers. Going to be forced to hit the bin. Here's Fairy Seer numero dos, however. He's going to get a couple of scries in. Spell Stutter, Sprite, Lightning Bolt looks here. I think I'm pretty interested in both of those if I'm John. In fact, both do stay on top. Here's a Lightning Bolt. That'll take out the Delver of Secrets while Nathan doesn't have access to blue mana. Of course, we're still holding up Petty Theft at current. Lightning Bolt off the top for Nathan. That one's pretty good, as it's going to be able to add the third counter to that Blood Chief Ascension here. Lightning Bolt you. Let's put John to 6. And I assume that we're going to see John Petty Theft this Blood Chief Ascension with this trigger on the stack here. Well, I suppose it doesn't really matter if it's a trigger on the stack or not, but... Well, actually, he just goes ahead and untaps. Interesting. Alright, so I assume that we're going to see John plus to give the Fairy Seer extra power. In fact, we do. Going to put Nathan to 8 now as it gets first strike and trample. Pass the turn. Back to Nathan. We've got a Spell Stutter Sprite at the ready now. Of course, a nice Creeping Tar Pit Mountain actually enters the battlefield untapped. That's a nice upside there. John basically unable to cast spells realistically here before he Petty Thefts that Blood Chief Ascension, though. End step Brazen Borrower here does look quite good as well. Does tap you out. Does tap you rather low, however, given that you know that Nathan actually has that Ionize still in his hand. So if you get Ionized, you're taking 2 from the Ionize, you're taking 2 from the Blood Chief Ascension. That puts you all of a sudden to 2. And looks like, yeah, John not willing to cast anything here. Just taking all the time he needs here. So now John thinking about what he wants to do this turn. Just going to be an attack for 1. Going to ultimate the Royal Scions here. It's going to be 4 cards coming off the top, and then Nathan taking 7. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's just it. No need to get cute here. No need to cast any spells. Why die to anything when you can just cast no spells, never put a card in your graveyard, just draw 4 cards, 7 your opponent. Easy. All right. Let's take a look at the sideboards here. Over on Nathan's side with Grixis Delver, we've got 1 Croxa Titan of Death's Hunger, an Ashiok Dreamrender, 2 copies of Dreadbore, a Rakdos Charm, 2 Mystical Dispute, 2 Psychic Barrier, 2 Dismember, 2 Vapor Snag, and 2 Ceremonious Rejection. Oh boy. So, the Mystical Disputes seem good. I think everything else I'm mostly off of here. The Croxa Titan of Death's Hunger actually seems pretty reasonable to me. Expect that the games are probably going to go a little bit longer, and having a recursive threat that you're happy to jam into counter magic does seem relatively valuable to me. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all I'm here for. I think I'm here for the Mystical Disputes. You can convince me on the Croxa. I think that's pretty much it for me. Let's take a look at John's sideboard over there on Blue-Red Fairies. We've got 2 copies of Relic of Progenitus, 2 Disdainful Strokes, 2 Dragon's Claw, 2 Abrade, 2 Engineered Explosives, 2 Negates, 2 Grafdigger's Cages, and a Blood Moon. So I like the Abrades quite a bit. Those seem quite good. Relic of Progenitus seems fine to me. We did see Snapcaster Mage, and as well as Drown in the Loch for what it's worth, actually, now that I think about it. So actually, I very much want these Relic of Progenituses, now that I think about that. The Engineered Explosives tend to be quite good against these Delver-esque decks. I mean, we saw Blood Chief Ascension and Delver of Secrets were basically the entirety of the threats that Nathan was using to try and get there last game, so I'm pretty happy to slap an EE on one and try and blow up the world. The Abrades are fine. There are additional copies of removal spells if you feel like that's what you need, but I kind of don't think that is what you need, so I think I'm actually not super into those. Additional copies of Negate are definitely always fine in this type of matchup as well, so if you got some cards you want to take out, I'm pretty into the Negates coming in as well, so I think so a little bit better of a sideboard here for John, and the fact that he's up a game already actually spells pretty good things for John in this matchup, I would say. So we'll have to see how the matches play out, of course. Obviously, I think Nathan was pretty unable, unfortunately, to really effectively activate his Blood Chief Ascension. I mean, we saw him, by the end of the game, he got the third counter on it, just barely, but he didn't actually end up putting any counters on it. Okay, looks like a couple Mystical Disputes and Dreadbores coming in for Nathan here. Not a huge fan of the Dreadbores here, I don't think. I think, obviously, John's creatures are, John has creatures in his deck, and John, in fact, does have Planeswalkers in his deck. In fact, we just lost last game to a Planeswalker. But all of John's creatures have Flash, and Dreadbore is a sorcery. And honestly, John's creatures are kind of mopey. And am I going to Dreadbore a Spell Stutter Sprite? No. Am I going to Dreadbore a Fairy Seer? No. Do I even want to Dreadbore Brazen Borrower? I mean, it's a little better, I guess, but it still sucks. How about Hypnotic Sprite? I'm so off that, Vendilion Click? Sure, I mean, if I have to, but the only real good target for Dreadbore in this matchup is the Royal Scions, I think. And I just don't think that's enough cards to be targeting. I mean, John's probably on 2 of that card, if I had to guess, and if I were playing in Nathan's seat, that's about what I'd assume. That's probably exactly the number of that card that he has. Obviously, I am entirely just assuming that, so I don't know the actual number. Looks like John really tanking on this sideboard. It seems pretty difficult here. Admittedly, this Grixis Delver deck does look quite different from most modern decks. So if you aren't really accustomed to this Delver-esque style of kill you with incremental damage while, holding up counterspells and threat, basically play this one threat, I'm going to protect this threat and kill you with it. That's definitely a play pattern that if you aren't familiar with due to archetypes such as Legacy Delver, you're going to end up in a somewhat awkward position. Oh, well, hello, Gavin.
Hello.
Grab a seat. How you doing?
All right.
Ah, cool. Welcome. We've got going to a second game here between Nathan and John. We got Grixis Delver against Blue-Red Fairies. So, feeling like it should be a fun matchup. We also got Pete that just walked in. Say hi, Pete.
How you doing?
This is our store.
I'm calling it Grixis Delver, but the screen says not Blue Moon.
Yeah, the screen does say not Blue Moon. That is because Nathan plays Blue Moon a lot. For those of you that are,
I got destroyed by him at FNM on Friday. So.
Nathan trashes people on Blue Moon. That's his thing. He's known around here. He plays Blue Moon. He plays it really well. Did he ambush Viper you at all? You just flash in a Snapcaster Mage and kill you with it?
It was not only Snapcaster Mage, but also Brazen Borrower.
Oh yeah,
Vendilion Click.
Did he flash in the no value snap? Just like 2-1 kill you?
Nimble Obstructionist too. All the 3/1.
Yeah, just mono beats. Yeah,
mono 3/1s. Yeah.
Look at that pose.
Yeah, it's
That
stoic.
is a man who beats with 3/1s.
So yeah, game one was pretty interesting. The game basically entirely revolved around Blood Chief Ascension on Nathan's side of the board, if you guys are aware of the text on that card.
I don't remember what it does, but I did see it across the board when he was playing with sand.
So it is a single black mana for an enchantment that says at the beginning of each end step, if an opponent has lost 2 or more life this turn, you put a counter on it. And then whenever a card goes to an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if it has 3 or more counters on it, they lose 2 and you gain 2.
Wow, that's like a significant life swing.
Oh yeah, it's really absurd when it gets going. Actually, so
was it going?
It just got to 3 counters at the end of the game.
So that's why the 1 is on John's side.
Yes, and
sense.
It ticked to 3 counters and then it passed the turn over to John, who ultimated his Royal Scions and just blasted him for his life total. So
I like this counter squall here. I don't know if you put it in, but
that's Nathan. Card. Yeah, that's Nathan.
Yeah, I guess John's not playing anymore.
Yeah, and he's it's pretty sick with Blood Chief Ascension. He's also playing Ionizes, so he's got like Cancel Plus and Negate Plus in his deck to try and really trigger these Blood Chief Ascensions. I don't think so. I don't think we're going that deep. Mind Sweep's a no-go for me.
Oh man.
Though we did see him, fire off some Drown in the Locks targeting you or some Thought Scours targeting you to power out the Drown in the Locks. So that seemed pretty sweet.
Is he looking at a no-lander here?
I think it's at least one. There's a Scalding Tarn.
Yeah, Scalding Tarn, and then Thought Scours and Snaps. I think there's a couple.
Scalding Tarn Thought Scour is risky.
Yeah, I mean,
I was playing Shadow tonight, and I wouldn't keep that.
looks like Nathan is keeping it. I think it might be 2 lands.
Okay,
but I think it's really missing any proactive plan. It's the biggest issue with the hand. I saw a Snapcaster Mage, and don't get me wrong.
This is a man who plays Snapcaster Mage. He doesn't want proactive plans. He just wants to turtle and play Snapcaster.
You say that, but watch Nathan cast this 2/1 for 2. Right? Like, he's going to be like, well, my hand's missing a proactive plan. I guess I've got Snapcaster Mage. That's a beater.
Hey, man, I tried to beat down with Snapcasters against the Heliod Infinite Life earlier. And
yeah, it worked, right?
No.
Wait, but all right,
I've been out of Modern since before Theros Beyond Death, so I wasn't quite sure about all my play patterns were supposed to be going around, and man, was I stomped by that.
Yeah, that one's rough. So here we got a little bit of Fairy Seer action going on for John. We also see Nathan fetch out a basic here so he doesn't get worked by Blood Moon like he did in the last game.
Yep.
Take a little bit of Scry 2 action, like a Blast Zone in hand for John as well. That's an interesting inclusion that John's been very happy with.
Yeah. I think that's main deck as well.
Oh, it absolutely is, yeah. And it looks like he just tops both, and then Nathan just Thought Scours him.
Yeah.
Bloodchief Ascension off the top. All right, here we go. Now we're talking Ionize to follow it up.
He does have the second land. Okay.
So, Scalding Tarn here. I think this one's probably going to have to get a non-basic here. Just need the colors. I assume Blood Crypt will be the one.
Or he's just going to be stubborn and stoic and play around that moon.
I mean, we can't even cast our Bloodchief Ascension with Scalding Tarn, though. And I think we got to get it in here. So, and I believe there are 4 copies of Bloodchief Ascension in this deck, by the way. So it really is a plan.
So I saw the Croxa on the sideboard, and I saw it in one of the matches I was looking at earlier. I saw it in there. Is there one in the main as well? Do we know?
I couldn't tell you, but I know there's one in the sideboard. Okay. So here is said Bloodchief Ascension. We're going to have to see if Nathan can end up turning it on a little bit better in this game than he was able to in the last one. This hand looks, well, a little bit more able to do it, but I think we're going to be pretty likely to see Ambush Viper here. I mean, you get the value, right? You hit him for 2 and you put a counter on your Bloodchief Ascension. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for excuses to play Ambush Vipers, Bloodchief
Ascension's the best one, right? Like, it's got to be the biggest trap reason to play Ambush Viper, right? Like, it's like, wow, it doesn't actually do anything, but if you do it 3 times,
I've got 3 snaps in the deck. You can bolt each one. I'm still there.
It's like Rumpelstiltskin. It's like, well, I won't pay you now, but if you answer me these riddles 3, I'll reward you with 2 damage to thee.
Choice.
All right. So,
got a table mat slipping off the side here. That looks dangerous.
Yeah, that's low quality for sure. Hopefully, John can keep it together.
And all those heavy creatures behind his lands weighing back.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this Fairy Seers are. Well, they're attacking. He's got a nice clock. Nathan is at 15 already, just out here racing this Delver deck.
Well, and, I mean, he's got spell starters galore in that deck. And the 2 Fairy Seers means he's got it
on lock.
Yeah. He can hit probably almost every spell.
Oh,
the
yeah.
3rd Seer. Let's go.
Yeah.
Does this deck play Ninja of the Deep Hours? Because I feel like this would be the perfect deck to,
to ninja people?
Yeah.
I have not seen any ninjas. I think John is, he's pretty about the fairies. I was talking to him about Nimble Destructionist, and he's like, yeah, I love that card.
It's not a fairy. Yeah, there are no ninjas of the Deep Hour, but that would be pretty sweet. Maybe
it seems sick because you can bounce the you can bounce the Seers, you can bounce the Spellstar's Braits. I think if he has Brazen Borrower, you can bounce that too after you flash it in. So
here we go with a double Collective Brutality, probably Drain and Look, trying to get. He doesn't kill any Fairy Seers. He just wants to get that counter on the Bloodchief Ascension.
I mean, yeah, he just got Force of Negation.
Yeah.
John's having none of that. He's got no land here.
Force of Negation
Nathan.
was
No, it exiled a Brazen Borrower.
Oh, okay. So we're just not seeing the exile pile yet.
Yeah, it's just a little off screen. You can barely catch the little glint of the orange sleeve under the white box there. Ooh, Darkslick Shores. All right, that's a pretty good one. Colligan's Command. Yeah. Looking pretty good with a Bloodchief Ascension in play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shock mode looks a little more relevant.
It's hard to not shock one of these fairies, though.
That's very true. We're getting beat down pretty bad.
Yeah.
Looks like main phase here. We're thinking about a little bit of Snapcaster action, maybe a little Snap Opt, Snap Thought Scour, or anything like that. Interesting. Was this another Brutality? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're just trying to run it back here with the Collective Brutalities. So we're discarding an Ionize.
I wonder if we just drain and kill. I wonder if we even bother looking.
Yeah, we aren't even looking.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Heads-up play.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
That's pretty sick. Yeah.
You know, if with 2 cards in hand, the likelihood you're going to get something good, you might be discarding a card for nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he's going to put that counter onto the Bloodchief Ascension, and oh yeah, John's not here to mess around.
Yeah.
We got 5 power in the air now, and we're just gonna jam. Royal Scions.
That's hot.
Oh yeah. Hello.
Oh, put it on the fairy. Just play around that Fatal Push a little bit.
Absolutely.
Well, the Fatal Push doesn't even kill the borrower, so
I guess we're actually playing into Fatal Push, but whatever. Whatever. It's good fundamentals. I like it anyway. Yeah. Kolaghan's Command, Lightning Bolt the draw.
Lightning Bolt's pretty useful. Oh, it's a snappy though. That's one more land than we'd be in shape.
Yeah, no joke. Unfortunately,
I think you got to bolt the borrower, right?
Yeah,
you're still taking 4 next turn from the Scions, but then you get to snap bolt afterwards.
Absolutely, and
whereas
at that
Kolaghan's Command doesn't let you do anything next turn.
Yeah,
really.
If you feel like you're behind enough, you could theoretically also go for the Kolaghan's Command and then try and hit the bolt snap bolt line off of a land next turn, but that is pretty greedy and might leave you needing to shock. Even.
This way he can snap bolt in response to the Royal Scions next turn.
Absolutely, which is pretty nice. So now we're gonna see.
And also leaves him with that one more removal spell to hopefully knock down that last Fairy Seer. Or, I mean, we're getting close to Ultimate on the Scions.
The Royal Scions Ultimate is a very real thing. That's how the last game ended, and would certainly end this one with Nathan at a measly 3.
That was a bolt off top. But I mean, I guess you probably want to snap bolt here.
Yeah, another bolt isn't very good, unfortunately.
The Snapcaster will let you knock the Royal Scions down.
Yeah, we've got an attack at least.
As long as John's pulling air. But, and looks like more air.
That is not the good one, unfortunately. So we'll see. Presumably a plus here for a lethal attack. Of course, I think we'll have Nathan go to combat here so that he makes sure to attack with both of his creatures so that we can attack down this Royal Scion with our Snapcaster Mage. Here comes the snap and the bolt, and well, thankfully for Nathan, it's going to resolve.
Means 2.
Yeah, he's going to get to fight another day.
What is that? He's got a Delta, and what's the other one?
I think it's a Blast Zone.
It's a Blast Zone?
Yeah.
And there it comes down. Yeah.
So here it is.
So he's working on...
Yeah, at least we got this Bloodchief Ascension on lock. Counter Squall, the draw here. So I
love that, actually, with the Lightning Bolt in hand. That's probably the best draw in the deck.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad one at all. So
it lets you kill it last year. He knocks the Scions down to the thing. Is he going to go ahead and bolt right now?
It seems reasonable to me. We've obviously know that our opponent doesn't have anything relevant in their hand, so make sure we don't lose to, I don't know, something.
Oh, he puts it on 2. That might be a mistake in the long run. If that Bloodchief Ascension actually goes there, that'd be the way he wins the game. I don't think the Snapcaster actually matters.
Well, this is going to allow him to protect the Royal Scions, which it looks as though Nathan does have a hard time dealing with.
Yeah.
Did he only draw 1 card off the Royal Scions that turn? Just as right now? It's discard 2 and then...
It's discard 1.
Draw 1.
Oh, it's only 1.
Oh. Absolutely.
It's not a loot. We don't have our Dak Faden here. Wow, 3rd bolt.
All right. So...
There's a lot of lines here, actually, at this point.
There are a lot. With the fetch land in play, that's immediately very dangerous because Nathan's got to be thinking about Mystic Sanctuary here. With the Lightning Bolt in the graveyard, that's a lethal threat.
Though he does have the Counter Squall.
Yes, the Counter Squall exists, so... he's got that.
I wonder if he
option.
starts going for face now, because the Royal Scions is 2 away from Ultimate, right? And you just want to get those counters on the Bloodchief and get yourself back on a life total.
I think I like Attack John as long as the Royal Scions isn't going to ult. That's probably not our plan here. And not John. No. Oh, but he draws Lightning Bolt.
Oh man, does he go straight for it?
Man, well, who needs a Mystic Sanctuary? The Lightning
and there turns on the Bloodchief.
Oh man, now that Bloodchief Ascension is going to have 3 counters on it. And that's going to be really hard for John to actually play spells into it, but he is going to get at least 1 loot here first. There's a Mystic Sanctuary as the draw as well, and Mystic Sanctuary is going to put Lightning Bolt on top. That's lethal. Through the Bloodchief Ascension, it'll kill Nathan before the trigger resolves.
Yeah.
And Nathan, with only Colligan's command in hand, he's going to need to draw an out
and he
here.
can't make it discarded on tap because it doesn't quite. Oh, there's another Blood Chief Ascension. That is not the draw.
I think he's dead.
He could pull a bluff somehow. That seems pretty risky.
I don't think there's any world where we aren't just jamming this lightning bolt at your face. Obviously, we've got 2 cards in our hand and all that, but...
I was a little bit surprised that he fired off the lightning bolt before using the Royal Scions, because he could have maybe drawn a counterspell off the Scions and then had protection.
This looks like a concession.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah. It looks like it's really close here for Nathan. If he just had 2 more points of life, he'd be okay. But, alas... He's dead. Yeah. So, yeah. Well fought game there from Nathan. He did his damnedest, but at the end of the day, the Fairseers just beat too hard, man.
Yep.
They just beat too hard.
I wonder if this deck has Scion of Una, because that also seems like a really sweet card with Fairseer and Brazen Borrower and all these.
Scion of Una is the give them all Shroud and 1/1. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not Lords. I think it's just he's got Vendilion Clicks. He was telling me earlier when I've talked to him about this deck. He's been working on this one for a while. It started off as like a sorry, excuse me, a little frog in the throat. Started off as a Kiki, like
started with Kiki Pestermite.
Yeah. And then he just moved to blue red fairy control with the fairy moon, and I think he was trying Mistbind Click out for a while and then just didn't like that, and now he's on just Fairy Seers, Spell Stutters. He's got the Mesmeric.
He's got Hypnotic Sprite in the deck.
And Vendilion Clicks.
Yeah, so
I think that's his creature base.
Yeah, pretty wild. So, anyways,
who's the Nubhub?
Nubtub. It's Patrick.
Oh, Patrick. Okay, yeah, I'll leave your lieutenants at pod. They're in Brian's deck, so I'll get those out of there and leave them.
Yeah, alrighty. So I think that is going to do it for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the stream. We'll be back at 6:30 p.m. on Friday with some Pioneer FNM action. So make sure you guys tune in for that. If you missed any of the action here from tonight or from the 1K yesterday with a very special winner, though I suppose I won't spoil it.
Make sure one of those videos going up. I got a buddy in Hawaii I wanted to send it to.
Yeah, the video should be on YouTube today.
Awesome.
Yes, yeah, you guys can watch me get destroyed round 1.
Oh, we got to watch the run back on Time Machine today.
Game 2 was great. I mean, it was tight and there was a lot of things going on, but it was
at least an interesting game. Yeah, it was at least interesting. Anyway, like I said, if you missed anything, make sure to check out the Pod VOD. It'll be up later tonight on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to come check us out live next time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard, Mondays and Fridays, for all the live Magic action you could desire.